The first thing to do is set the record mode of the DR-60. We have stereo. This takes input from either 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. This can be defined using the source option on this page. Dual mono, which will take its input from either 1, 2, 3 or 4. In this mode, the DR-60 also records the chosen input at a lower level, defined as dual level on this page, to provide a backup should your recording distort. This can be set at up to 12 dBFS below your desired input peak. Dual stereo. Similar to dual mono, but using both inputs 1 and 2, or this could be set to use inputs 3 and 4. Again, your dual level can be set to up to -12 dBFS below your input peak. MS mode can be set to record or monitor as desired. With regards to MS mode, I'll cover that detail in another tutorial. Finally, there's 4-channel mode, to record from inputs 1, 2, 3 and 4 simultaneously. Channels 1 and 2 can be muted if necessary. The most common and recommended mode is dual stereo. Next, let's look at the input setting menu. For each channel you can set gain. This determines the sensitivity of the input gain pot. Limiter. Use this to stop the audio from clipping, but remember proper recording techniques and monitoring should avoid this. Use this only as a precaution, not as a standard. This can be set so one of the pairs controls the limit, or they can act independently. Lowcut. Use this to filter low-frequency noise, such as wind or aircon rumble. Delay. We'll touch on this when we look at Channel 2 settings. As you scroll down, you will move to the next channel settings. If you keep an eye on the left-hand side of the screen, you will see the channel number increment. You can then set Channel 2's settings. Here you can see that Channel 2's input can be delayed with relation to Channel 1. This could help when your mics are a great distance apart and you know the difference in time that the audio will take to travel to each mic. Inputs 3 and 4 are treated as a permanent pair due to them being a mini-jack input. Next we have record settings. Here you can set sample rate, bit depth and format. Use BWAV, 24-bit and 48 kHz as the standard. The size option is merely there to give you an indication on how much the chosen format will fill up an SD card of a given size, just as a reference. Self-timer. This is just like a camera's self-timer. Be sure monitor is set to on so you can hear your inputs without having to go into record standby. With the pre-record function active, the DR-60, when in record standby, will record up to 2 seconds of the signal input before the record button is pressed. Record delay will delay the recording up to 0.3 of a second so as to not record handling noise at the DR-60. The auto tone function will record a small tone onto your recordings at the front and end to help audio sync in post. The tone's volume can be set here too. The next menu is auto record. You can use this to trigger recording once the audio reaches a certain level or threshold, and to stop when the audio drops below a certain level. Delay can be added to the end of the recording accordingly. This brings us to the Others menu. Information is to see an overview of your settings, file info and SD card space. With file name, here you can customize the name of the files that the DR-60 will record. At the bottom is an example of the file for your reference. Use the scroll wheel to select the letter and the forwards and back buttons to move on to the next and previous. You can set the remote type should you have one. You can also set the date and time here too. The last on the list is the system menu. Here you can set backlight, contrast, battery type, be sure that this is correct and matches your type in the DR-60, plug-in power, this is for when using a mini jack mic in inputs 3 and 4 that requires it, phantom power voltage, generally set to 48 volts, and finally, initialization features as described earlier. Other menus on the DR-60 are Monitor Select to control what you're listening to, Mix Main to monitor what is being recorded to the DR-60, Mix Sub to monitor the lower dual level recording. You can also choose to monitor each channel individually. This menu will change depending on which record mode you're set at. The Mixer button will enable you to move audio around in the stereo field and change the levels of each input for your headphones or line out. It does not affect how the audio is being recorded.